When you picture animal rescue, what comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's a hero, someone who just never, ever says no, working around the clock to save every single animal. It's an image we all love. But what if that very instinct, that heroic drive, is actually the thing that's causing the system to fail for really complex animals like parrots? Let's get into it. So this is the big question we're tackling, and honestly, it's a little uncomfortable. Is it possible that our best intentions, our absolute passion for helping, could actually be creating this cycle of burnout and collapse that in the end harms the very parrots we're so desperate to save? And this slide really puts that conflict front and center. On one hand, you've got that powerful emotional pull, the heroic instinct to always say yes. But on the other side, you've got the cold, hard reality. And that reality is that saying yes when you don't have the space, the money, or the people, well, that can lead to a total system collapse. And then nobody gets helped. All right, so let's dig into the first set of these hard truths. This is all about redefining what compassion really looks like and showing why having a stable organization isn't just some boring business goal. It's actually the single most powerful way to save lives for the long haul. Okay, this is probably the toughest one to get your head around. The idea of limiting intake. It just feels wrong, right? It feels like you're abandoning an animal. But the reality is, when a rescue takes in more parrots than it can possibly handle, you get overcrowding, disease spreads, and people burn out. And when that rescue finally collapses, and it will, it fails all the parrots in its care at the exact same time. So a limit isn't abandonment, it's a firewall. And this leads to a whole new way of thinking: strategic compassion. It's about a major shift. We move away from chasing that immediate short-term feeling of doing good, that rush you get from saying yes, and we focus on the much harder and more disciplined work of making sure the organization is still around to provide amazing care next year and 10 years from now. Truth number 2 really hits on the culture of crisis. Think about it. For decades, parrot welfare has felt like it's in a constant state of emergency. The phones are always ringing, the cages are always full, but a real emergency is supposed to be temporary. When you're always in crisis mode, you can't plan, you can't build for the future. You're just treading water. That's not a strategy. It's a clear sign that the system itself is failing. Now, this next point is really interesting because it pushes back against the idea that helping more animals, even if it's not perfect, is always the better thing to do. The argument here is that being generous in a way you can't sustain, well, it isn't really generous at all. Let's actually look at the math. So first, you've got the common approach. Let's call it the help many model. A rescue stretches every single dollar, every volunteer hour, to its absolute breaking point to help 100 parrots a year. It looks heroic, for sure, but it's a recipe for burnout. So they go on like this for 5 years. And then it happens. The rescue collapses. It's out of money, out of energy, and has to close its doors. In total, it helped 500 parrots before it failed everyone. Okay, now let's flip that. Let's look at the help well model. This rescue focuses on being sustainable. It provides top-notch care for a much more manageable number, say 30 parrots a year. It feels slower, I know, but it allows them to build a stable system that can be replicated. And because this model is actually built to last, it can keep going for 30 years or even more. And over that time, it helps over 900 parrots. The numbers, well, they don't lie. The sustainable model, the one that looks like it's helping fewer parrots at the start, has a way, way bigger impact over time. Okay, so the next set of truths is all about the parrots themselves. You see, so much of the animal rescue world we know today was built around dogs and cats. But trying to apply that same model to parrots, it is the classic square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work. And here's truth number 4. Parrots are just not feathered dogs. I mean, look at this chart. It makes it so clear. Dogs and cats have shorter lifespans, you can find a vet pretty easily, and there's a huge public safety net of shelters. Parrots, they can live for 60, 70, 80 years. They routinely outlive their owners. They need incredibly specialized, expensive medical care, and there's basically zero public infrastructure to support them. You just can't swap these systems. And that really gets to the heart of it. When we use a one-size-fits-all approach, we think we're being fair, but we're not. We're actually creating an injustice by completely failing to meet the very unique, very long-term needs of these amazing birds. So whenever someone suggests, hey, maybe we need a new, carefully planned system, the immediate pushback is always, we can't wait. Parrots need help now. We don't have time for studies. But here's the thing. After 40+ years of this urgent, crisis-driven action, the problem has only gotten worse. So truth number 5 is that the only way to build a real, lasting solution is to slow down and build it right from the ground up. And you can see how that careful approach works. There's a clear, logical path here. You start with a small pilot program, you use that to collect real data. That data is what you use to prove your model actually works. And that proof, that's what unlocks the major funding from big foundations and donors. And only then, with that funding, can you scale the solution to make a real national impact. Just acting with urgency can't get you there. This brings us to our last truth, and it's a huge one. You simply cannot scale chaos. If you try to grow a system that's already broken, unstable, and constantly in crisis, all you do is create a bigger, more fragile system that's even more likely to have a massive, catastrophic collapse. But, and this is the hopeful part of that truth, you absolutely can scale a system that is stable, that's proven to work, and that's built on a foundation of real data. Lasting, nationwide impact doesn't come from making a failing model bigger, it comes from perfecting a successful one and then helping others copy it. So, after all that, where are we? Well, all 6 of these hard truths are really pointing us in one direction. We need a brand new architecture for parrot welfare, one that's built not just on good intentions, but on a solid foundation of sustainability. And this new approach, it demands some big changes from us. It means we have to move beyond just having good intentions and embrace strategic, long-term planning. It means focusing on stability so we can help more animals over decades, not just this week. And it means choosing the hard honesty that comes from data over the easy emotional rush of responding to a crisis. And this is absolutely critical. The goal here is not to build one single perfect rescue that no one else can replicate. The real goal is to build a successful, stable model, a blueprint that any group anywhere in the country can copy and implement. Because replication is the only way we're going to solve a crisis of this size. Which leaves us with this final, massive question. A parrot can live for 60, 70, maybe even 80 years or more. The rescue systems we have right now often don't even last a decade. So the ultimate challenge, and really our greatest responsibility, is to design and build a system of care that is stable enough to outlive the very animals it exists to protect.